Kelly drank a little too much that night, got verbally totally abusive. I'm staying 2,000 miles away from my house. She's having a fight with her son and then takes it against both of us.
These are the plaintiffs, William Goldberg and Kelly Elliott. William says they rented the defendant their vacation house, and when the rental was up, the defendant stole their 3.5-foot wooden carved bear statue. He never complained about a thing and is now holding their bear hostage. He also canceled the credit card charges, and they're here suing this strange man for the $1,000 they're owed. This is the defendant, William. He says he got bed bugs from the plaintiff's rental and is currently being treated by a doctor. He has no idea why these people feel he should pay $1,000 because he owes them nothing and thinks the judge is going to agree. He's accused of being a rotten renter. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $1,700 for pain and suffering and a bet.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Goldberg and Ms. Elliott, you rented your place out to William, we'll just call him, and according to you folks, Ms. Elliott, you knew him before this? You guys are friends?
Yes.
How is it that how long had you known each other?
20 years.
Oh, wow. And how is it that you know each other?
I was his hairstylist.
Oh, okay. All right. And had you actually been socially friends all that time as well?
Probably about 12 years at that time.
All right. So at some point it comes up that he is going to rent a cabin that you folks have in Tennessee. Where in Tennessee?
Near Mountain City, Tennessee.
Okay. And he is going to rent it. How did he even know about it? Was that something that you had advertised, or he just knew about it and asked you for it?
No, we never advertised it, and we never rented it to anyone. But he and Kelly were having a conversation and asked Kelly if he could stay while we were going to be gone from October 3rd till October 23rd of 2019.
Okay. And then how did you guys come up with the figure $1,000?
Well, it normally, if we were to rent this house out, it would rent for considerably more than that, about $1,600 a week. But we decided that since Bill was an acquaintance, that we would allow him to rent it for $1,000.
All right, and then he agrees. He pays you the $1,000, and he gets there on what day?
So he paid through Kelly's Square account the $1,000. He arrived before we left, which we had agreed to. He arrived on September 28th of 2019, and then we departed on October 3rd as planned. And he then stayed by himself until, he could have stayed until October 23rd when we came back, but he decided to go back to Florida on the 20th of October. So he left a few days earlier.
All right. When do you first hear any display? I know that I've seen some emails back and forth between you guys trying to negotiate the price. At some point, it is decided because he actually pays through the app Square. So, and that's before he gets there. And then at some point, he expresses his displeasure. When is it, actually, let me ask you, Mr. William, when is it that you expressed your displeasure with the arrangement?
Well, it was prior to getting up there. As seen in the emails, I gave them the ultimatum because they asked for $1,000. I said I was looking at their place, their friends, and I offered them $250 a week to shoot the autumn fall up in the Appalachians. And they agreed to it verbally, but went and charged my card $1,000 that I did not know until I got back. I got there on the 1st of October. They left on the 3rd. And the deal was with all of our communications, I would pay when they're not there. And
I want to
so they
see,
left
hold
the
on one second. I want to see where that is, in fact, your agreement with them, that you would pay, not where you say that was the agreement. I want to see where that was the agreement. So show me where.
There is no text or emails they responded to. They were
Okay,
careful
so
about
you
that.
kept,
They
well, I
verbally
mean, when you
accept-
say they were careful about that, when did you pay the 1,000?
I did not pay the 1,000. I gave.
I know you
Bill,
took it back and disputed the charge. We're going to talk about that. But when did you pay the 1,000?
before I arrived.
Exactly.
And I
So
did
you
not
didn't
know-
pay 250. You paid 1,000, right? And there's
I
nowhere
was
you
sup-
can point to where they say that if you change your mind midstream, you can just pay half. There is, it's
Well,
$1,000 from October 3rd to October 23rd. You send emails saying, get with the real world. I'll pay X. They don't agree to it. And then you pay exactly what they had been demanding, because they said they didn't care. You could either take it or leave it. So you paid the 1,000 before getting up there. You're complaining because they were still there. But I see in the emails where you always knew they were still going to be there until October 3rd exactly.
They offered me to stay the whole month for the 1,000. When they came back, as they said in their
I don't
first
see that
email,
anywhere. I just see in all of the emails over and over, what I see is October 3rd to October 23rd. Where you were going to show me something. I want to see that. Which email did you want to show me?
Well, the top one. He
Okay,
sent a
well, but
message
that's
and
the
said,
one where they tell you you can be my guest from the
Right.
28th forward, right? Okay.
And
All right,
we'll
let me
give
ask
you
you
a
a question.
5-star
When you're there, we'll buy you $10 glasses of wine and we'll take you to
Right.
dinner and yada, yada. And all that sounded really good to you. Then what changed? Because, Mr. William, at some point during your stay, you send an email to them saying, this isn't worth the money I paid. When did you send that?
Well, I probably sent it right after the 2 days I was there. Miss Elliott had, and then, Drake.
Let me see the email 2 days after you got there.
Okay, it's graphic. I have to be blunt.
Okay, hold on one second. I have that one. Hold on.
Kelly drank a little too much that night. Got verbally totally abusive. I'm staying 2,000 miles away from my house. She's having a fight with her son and then takes it against both of us.
I have to be blunt. Your girlfriend Kelly yelling, shut up, out of nowhere, troubling during my stay, misleading of location. Oh, but look at that. The date of this is October 23rd. It's the day you're leaving. Misleading of location in nowhere land. The inside Goodwill furniture uncomfortable and unsleepable. Beautiful place for wild animals. $500, not $1,000, or we both get attorneys. So after your entire stay, not 2 days into your stay, you send them an email that says that. And who is Barry? P.S. Barry is mine. Savanti loves him. What is Barry?
That's the bear that I took for the $200. The carved bear that he claimed I took. I put it in my car.
Wait, that you took
Yes.
or that he claimed you took? Which is it?
Oh, no, I took it. I drove it all the way home.
So you stole a carved bear from their
As
home.
I said in my emails, it was a joke. I gave
A
it back.
joke?
Yes.
Oh, when did you give it back? When did it give it back to you, Mr. Goldberg? When you called the sheriff and the sheriff said that was theft and they were going to arrest him?
Yes, once I filed a report with the sheriff on November 1st, and I returned to Florida on November 8th, and Mr. William had his son meet me to return the bear on November 10th.
Yeah, after the sheriff called him, right? Is
Right,
that what
week after
happened?
the sheriff
No
called.
sheriffs ever called me.
No sheriff's ever called you?
Never. Never.
So what, after stealing the bear, in an email where you say
I took it.
I'm going to pay you 500, not 1,000. And by the way, Barry is mine. That is supposed to be a joke as opposed to a hostage situation.
Well, I thought it was both. Humorous
Oh,
and a
okay.
hostage.
All right. And then what did you do, Mr. William? According to you, why is it you don't want to pay the $1,000?
Because my deal was $250 a week. I could do an Airbnb up in that entire area for the same price, and it's not the point.
So if it
I
was
don't wanna
$250
stay
a
a
week,
month.
why did you pay 1,000? Why did you pay 1,000 then?
I
Because
did
you
not.
authorized
I gave
1,000.
Bill my credit card. I gave Bill my credit card. I had no idea what they charged till I got back.
How does that work?
And Kelly, and then
How does that work? No, don't go and. Tell me how that works. You handed over a credit card, you didn't sign anything?
no, I gave him my number on the phone for $250 a week.
Show me
And I
proof where
stayed
they agreed to $250 a week. Do you have any proof that they agreed to $250 a week? Because when
Well, I
I see an
should've
email from
recorded
you
the
on the
call.
last day of your stay where you say to him $1,000, 500, not 1,000, it sounds to me like you agreed to 1,000 because those are your words, you see? But now it gets even better. Hold on. Then what you do is you contact your credit card company and you tell them that this is a completely unauthorized charge and that you never authorized any of this, right?
Absolutely.
Isn't that what
true.
you do?
Not only
Right,
is that
except for you
true,
did authorize that,
Wait a minute.
right?
Excuse me.
Just a second,
I hate
just
to-
a second. What you say is customer claims to have no knowledge of this charge. That's what you say, correct? In order to contest it.
Yes, I did not give it.
But
to
you
this
do have
owner.
knowledge of the charge. You do have knowledge of the charge, don't you? Because
Well, I
when you
sure
send
do.
an email on your last day that it's crappy furniture and it's uncomfortable and I want to renegotiate and I'm taking your bear as hostage, it's kind of clear that you knew what the charge was about, right?
Your Honor, whatever you say, you seem to want to argue a valid point I've got. People investigated the charge. This is your thing.
I've seen that. That's because you lied
credit
and
card
said you
company-
didn't know anything
No,
about the
they-
charge. No, it's a total lie. That you don't know anything
that.
about the charge is a complete lie. Stealing the bear is illegal. And then let's discuss what it is that you're saying. According to you, there are bed bugs that made your time there miserable, correct?
Absolutely, and I sent you records.
Your records are from December.
My records run for a year, Your Honor.
Oh, a
I sent
year?
Copies. A year of how many dermatologists I saw and how many primary.
Oh, well, then their place didn't give you bed bugs. It's even worse. Then you know that you have some kind of skin issue before you go there. According to you, they had bed bugs. I'm going to need you to prove that. Because the only evidence I see of bed bugs you hand in December. And you see, that's not timely. But more importantly, you know what you didn't do in that nasty email of October 23rd? You never mentioned bed bugs. Which one would think,
Your
if
Honor.
that's why you want to withhold payment, that that would be what you say in the darn email? But you don't. You don't say one word. Now you guys go out and you hire somebody for $100 to go check whether there are bed bugs. And I've seen the report from that exterminator, 0 bed bugs, correct?
Correct.
All right. And that's why you're suing for $1,100. Let's talk about your counterclaim. You have a counterclaim for $1,500 for pain and suffering for what?
For getting eaten alive by their bed bugs. But Your Honor,
Okay,
I
and again,
really
but let me ask you, do you
Had a
have
business
any
day.
evidence that there were bed bugs in between October 3rd and October 23rd while you were there? Anything, a text from you to them, an email from you to them, anywhere where you mentioned bed bugs during the time that you were there?
forgive me, Your Honor, and you usually do not know for a couple weeks. I've got documentation. I went to LabCorp. They found the poison. I went to 2 dermatologists. If you don't believe it, Your Honor, you're wasting my
Mr.
time.
William, listen to me. I'm wasting your time. I do bed bug cases all the time. It is inaccurate that you usually do. You find out the second you wake up. Now, let me ask you what the $200 bet is about. Tell me what the $200 bet is about. What are you suing for? Then?
Kelly owed me $100, double or nothing. She could climb in a boat. I sent pictures. She didn't get in. She owes me the $200, and they owe me the $1,000. But I've always said I don't want the $1,000. I travel around the world, Your Honor.
Wait, you mean the $1,500 that you're suing for pain and suffering? That's what you're referring to.
Yes,
right?
I told them forget it.
Where'd you go between the 23rd? Where did you go between the 23rd of October and December? You said you'd travel around the world. Where'd you go?
Nowhere. I went to Mexico with my son in January. I just got back from the Mediterranean and Alaska, and I was booked to go to South America. But that's neither here nor there. Your Honor, please, a ruling and let me go on my way.
I don't think so. I think I'm going to, I really don't care either. I think that you are not only a thief, that you ended up ruining a 20-year, 12-year, whatever it was, friendship over posing. Turn him off. Turn him off. Turn him off. I want him gone. Okay. So not only am I going to order him to pay the $1,000 that he owes you and got reversed by lying, I'm also going to order him to pay you the $100 for the exterminator who went there, inspected thoroughly, and found 0 bed bugs. Okay? I think you got to see his true colors. I don't think you want him in your home again. All right. Verdict for the plaintiff. No, we do not, but thank you, Your Honor. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, you can't collect on bets. The courts don't get involved in enforcing gambling. So on his bet, 0, and on the $1,500 for pain and suffering, it couldn't be more obvious that this happened after the fact, because nowhere does he mention it, and there's no evidence of it until December, and no bed bugs don't take a month and a half to come out. Ridiculous. Verdict for the plaintiffs.
Thank you.
Well, the plaintiffs collect everything plus $100 extra, so that's $1,100 in this case. The defendant, as you know, was evicted from the courtroom by the judge. It's a shame. I'd love to talk to him and hear his reaction. I'm sure he's steaming. In any event, let's talk to Mr. Goldberg and Ms. Elliott. How do you feel about the outcome of the case, folks? What's your decision? What's your opinion?
Well, I think certainly it's very fair. And I think the judge actually saw the defendant's true colors in today's presentation.
Yes.
She did and you did, saw the true colors. You won't have anything to do with him again in the future. I'm sure of that. Am I right?
No.
All right. Very interesting case, to say the least. And I'm sure the judges have some very interesting thoughts about this. Let's have another version of After the Verdict.
Marilyn, in this case, it took 17 days or thereabouts after the departure of the defendant from the house to say a single word about bed bugs. And ostensibly, that was the big problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and when you're leaving and you say, "Hey, I'm not paying $1,000, or I'm paying half of what I said I'd pay and what I already paid, or else we go to lawyers," you would think that you would have every reason that you're doing that listed in that email. Right. And the only reason was Goodwill Furniture.
And when the bed bugs bite you, it's not a 3-week process.
No, of course it's
before
not.
you
This
get.
guy just will say
you
whatever.
Manifest something from the bite.
You know in the morning. Anybody who's ever been a victim of bed bugs knows. You know in the morning once you've been bitten.
Well, and then the exterminator comes, and the exterminator finds 0 evidence of bed bugs after the fact. And you would think they would find them. You can see a bed bug, by the way. I guess a bed bug is something about the size of an apple seed.
Very tiny. Nobody knows where they come from, and the bed bugs aren't talking, but he had 0 evidence of it until December. This guy will literally say anything to nail his friends out of the money that they're entitled to.
Well, certainly claiming to the credit card company that
he has
I don't know anything about that is not a good look when you come to court later, right?
Right.
So Mary Lee wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, is it legal for a landlord to make you lower your heat when you're cold, with temps in the 40s and the apartment temperature at night is 60? Well, here's the thing. 60 is unreasonable, and you have a right to heat. There is something called a warranty of habitability that is implied. If it's not written down, it's implied in every lease. And that means you are entitled to a healthy, safe apartment. And part of that is you don't have to shiver when you're inside. So there's no magic number in terms of how warm you're entitled to have it, but you are entitled to have reasonable heat. 60 degrees is not reasonable. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case are inside the courtroom.
This is the plaintiff, Linnea Scott. She says she purchased an adorable puppy named Cody from the defendant, and it turns out he has a disease in his eyes which may require surgery. She had to go ahead and get Cody the surgery. He has to have another operation in 6 months. The defendant sold her a sick dog, and now she's owed $1,593.96 for all the vet bills she has to pay. This is the defendant, Marquette. He says the plaintiff insisted on taking the puppy home before he was 8 weeks old, and he told her if she did that, she would be responsible for it. When she took the puppy home, he was perfectly healthy. He doesn't know what she did to Cody in the time she had him, and he doesn't think he's responsible for paying the plaintiff's vet bills. He's accused of pooping out on a pup.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says that she purchased a puppy from the defendant, but the dog was sick, needed surgery, and the defendant won't pay. Now, the defendant says that he doesn't know what she did with the dog when she had him and isn't paying her anything. It's the case of pooping out on a pup.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Scott, talk to me. What happened? How do you two know each other to begin with?
We grew up together in the same neighborhood down North Philly.
So he had puppies for sale and you wanted one of the puppies. What kind of puppies were these?
They're standard poodles.
Okay. So what did you pay for the poodle?
$1,200 to get all together. When he advertised the poodle on April the 11th, I contacted him and it was a $300 deposit down to hold the poodle.
All right. Now, apparently there was a problem with the poodle. What was the problem?
Upon receiving the poodle, he was asleep on May the 20th. At 6 weeks old, the next day, he was asleep the whole night when he delivered the poodle. I gave him his $900 cash. The next day when Cody had woke up, his eyes were red. They were irritated. They had crusts around them. I called around a few vets. A PetSmart, they said we can't provide no eye washes for the poodle. He's a baby. He don't have his shots. We urge you to take him to a veterinarian hospital. I took Cody in, emergency. They said maybe it's an allergy. They gave me a medicine for Cody.
Okay, let's fast forward a little bit. As it turns out, what the vet said is that the dog needed surgery because it had an eyelid that was, and I believe the word is entropion, when it's a condition where the eyelid is drooping and the eyelash is hitting the eyeball, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So did you bring that to Mr. Marquette's attention?
Yes. I
And what
called
he said?
Mr. Marquette.
8 days later.
I called Mr. Marquette, let Mr. Marquette know.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Mr. Marquette. You keep saying it's 8 days later. When did you expect her to tell you the problem?
She initially said that his eye was red the next day. Or she said the eye of the puppy, his eye was red the same day. And then on the paperwork, it says the puppy eye was red the day that I dropped the puppy off. If the eye was red the day I dropped the puppy off, why didn't Ms. Scott contact me to say, hey, Marquette, the puppy eye is red, can you come check the puppy out?
Did the puppy have surgery, Ms. Scott?
Yes, June the 4th he had surgery.
Okay. And you are suing here for a future surgery as well?
Yes, ma'am.
I read the vet reports, and the vet doesn't appear to think there's going to be a need for a future surgery. Why are you suing for $881 for a future surgery when the vet said that there didn't appear to be a need at this time?
She said that she will watch him. She said he's doing well right now.
Right, and the words, I'm not making this up, the exact words are that there is no need for a future surgery at this point. So how are you going to prove that you're entitled to $881 for a surgery your vet says there's no reason to believe we're going to need? I mean, you may end up needing it, or you may pocket $881. That's not how the law works.
No, she said one eye fell out, Your Honor, and she said the right eye she would keep an eye on.
So when I'm looking at the vet's reports, you're only entitled to come to court and sue for real damages, not speculative damages. You can't sue for, hey, she's watching the eye and something might happen later. That's not how this works. Also, how did you even come up with the figure 881?
Because in the beginning, there was going to be a future surgery. The stitches that she put in.
Yeah, but how did you come up with that
to
figure?
Help him. This was
right,
the
and she says that works.
She gave me.
Okay.
Yes.
I got it. Now, let me ask you a question. Why didn't you call him sooner or reach out to him sooner?
The medicine that she gave me was to watch him for 5 days. When we didn't think that this was a problem long term.
Right. You just thought it was a little infection or something and it wasn't worth calling. Now, Mr. Marquette, what difference does it make that she waited 8 days? What is your impression of what the law says and how much time she has to bring something up?
My thing is because we know each other from childhood, from about 13 to 18 or 19, we know each other. So if something happened to that dog in the time frame that she did receive the dog at 6 weeks, when I told her, hey, they still puppies, they 6 weeks, but they're running up my steps. I said, they're ready to go. If you want the dog, you can get the dog at 6 weeks. You have to bring the dog back at 8 weeks so I could take it with the litter of puppies to get his shots. So even with the text message, I sent her a small contract saying, hey, you are reliable for the puppies. If anything happened to the dog,
responsible.
If anything happened to, I'm sorry.
Responsible for the puppies.
Yes, you're responsible for the pet if anything happened to it. But that wasn't saying if the dog I was read the same day I dropped him off. She could have called me to say, hey, Marquette, the dog I is red. And the second day, if it was worse or if it got redder, I would have first called the person I got the dog from to see what the problem was.
But I probably would have too. But what you or I would do is different from what the law requires. In your state of Pennsylvania, she has 10 days to bring up a problem to you. And she brings it up on day 8, okay? And she tells you, I thought I could handle it. I thought it was an infection, but it turns out that the dog is going to need surgery. You've seen the vet reports. You know that they had to do a few stitches on the eyelid, right?
Well, it took her a while to get me over the information. I kept asking for the information.
But you've seen it. You have seen it.
Did I see the report? No, all I saw was a vet bill. I didn't see a report.
Okay.
I saw the vet bill.
All right. Well, the animal did have entropion. Is that what it's called?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have included in here shots that he had said he'd get taken care of. Why didn't you just bring the dog back to him to take care of the shots like you guys had agreed?
I kept calling Ron.
She told me she wasn't bringing him back.
Mr. Marquette, hold on. Go ahead.
I kept calling Mr. Marquette. I've contacted him a few days before the 30th and said, hi, will we meet? He said, yeah, tomorrow. I said, hey, are you going to come and get the dog? He kept saying tomorrow. I provided exhibits to you. He kept saying tomorrow.
Okay, hold on one second. When were you supposed to, when were you supposed to get the dog to him in order to get the shots done?
On the 30th.
She was
okay, so I'm going to look. I'm looking at the text. He tells you, that's fine, Naya. You should have called me right away before taking him to the vet. Or if you saw his eyes swollen, I didn't see that. And you said, I panicked. I just called the vet right away. Sunday, May 31st, he says.
This is after the fact.
So I don't see what you say, Ms. Scott, where he just blows off picking up the dog. What I see instead is on May 31st, he texts you and says, hey, I'm going to pick him up. and you say you would have to call me, I've already been getting him care. His case is severe. He's scheduled for eye surgery next week. So there's no him refusing to take the dog for the regular shots. There's you deciding that you're just going to handle it, right? So I don't think you're entitled to.
I didn't provide that exhibit.
Oh, well, it exists, though. He provided it. It's the text where you say, these are your texts. You would have to call me. I'm already getting him care. His case is severe. He's scheduled for eye surgery. So it's not him who bails on taking the dog in for the shots. Now, let's discuss what your damages are, because you need to understand there's law that covers this, all right? Every state has laws that govern the sale of dogs and the protections that you have. And Pennsylvania is no exception. Its law is pretty much the same as most places. Now, the one thing is it covers any seller of a dog, whether it's a dealer or not. I don't know whether you're a dealer or a seller or just a seller, but since it covers anybody who sells a dog ever, we don't even have to go into that. Normally, I have to determine whether someone's, a casual breeder or an actual dealer and sells X number of dogs a year. That's not how it works in Pennsylvania. Frankly, that's not how it should work anywhere. And then it gives you 3 choices. And this is almost the same in every state. Choice number 1, return and get a refund. Choice number 2, return and get a replacement. And choice number 3, keep the dog, because people end up wanting to keep the dog. They've bonded with the dog and they don't want to give the dog away. And get damages up to, we cap that. See, you can't, if it's a $1,000 dog, you can't spend $20,000 saving it. So it's capped. You can keep the dog, and then the bills that you can sue for are capped at the purchase price of the dog. Okay? So even if you could prove, $1,593 worth of damages, which you can't because 881 of it are speculative, you would still be capped at the $1,200. You send her a text when she picks up the dog, which, by the way, I don't know why. Oh, they're running up the steps so she can take the dog. You should still keep the darn dog for the 8 weeks, okay? But you go ahead and you give her the dog, and then you put in a text, by the way, anything happens, you're responsible. But you need to understand that the law doesn't let you nullify the protections of dog purchasers. In other words, your text saying that doesn't alter what her rights are. I am with you that I would have expected her, especially if you're friends, for her to call you and tell you what was going on, because maybe you had a recommendation of a vet or whatever, and maybe you could have kept the costs more controlled. But when we get right down to it, the cost ended up being only $712.96, of which a portion of that are the regular shots, which I don't deem that you should have to pay. So here is where we are. There's no question that this is a condition that the dog was born with. It's a congenital thing to have that, and that it devalues the dog. Were you planning on breeding the dog, ma'am? Or no, this was a pet?
Either or.
Yeah, because there are problems with...
Who knows what the future holds?
Yeah. Well, there's kind of problems with, being able to breed a dog that has this condition because they pass it on.
Exactly.
Right. So I would have never sold her a runt dog. That's number one. She got one of the first dogs that she picked from seeing the pictures. I didn't just give her the dog and saying, "Hey, here goes your dog." So for me, I love my dogs. I have 3 standard poodles of my own that I take care of. And they're well groomed. They're the best looking dogs in my neighborhood. I get compliments every day.
Okay, no, nobody thinks that you're some kind of racketeer or anything. I get it.
No.
But at the end of the day, you're still responsible. So here's what's going to happen. I've gone through the bills. I have pulled out the following. A speculative future surgery that the doctor right now says is unnecessary. Now, that doesn't mean that if the dog requires a surgery, you can't come back to court, just not in this case. I'm not ordering him to pay it to you. I'm also removing the shots because the shots are not something that I think you should have to pay. The shots are $83 and $125.
Yes.
I'm removing those, and that leaves the rest of the bill, which I do find that you are responsible for, Mr. Marquette, in the amount of $504. Verdict for the plaintiff. Good luck, folks.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So, after suing for almost $1,600, the plaintiff is only going to recover just over $500, $504. Let's talk to Mr. Marquette. Number one, Mr. Marquette, you're the defendant in this case. Are you sorry you gave her the dog at 6 weeks?
Yes, I would never make that. I would never do that again. I will keep my puppies until 8 weeks, so I won't have problems like this in the near future.
I think that's very important. One other thing, did any of the other dogs in that litter have any eye problems like this one?
No, all of my puppies are fine. So it could have been something that was going on in her house. Oh, but I know all of my puppies, no one has problems out of the litters that I've breeded. This is the first time I ever heard of something wrong with a puppy of mine.
All right, well, very good. Well, I'm sorry that you had this problem to deal with. She should have brought the dog back to you. If she had in the beginning, you would have taken care of it, wouldn't you? Right in the beginning?
I would have took care of the puppy, and I would have used my own insurance to take care of the puppy, and I would have gave her I would have gave her a different puppy.
Very
or a refund.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, well, thank you very much. All right, Ms. Scott, let me ask you what you think about the outcome of the case. How do you feel about it? You heard what the defendant just said. If you'd have taken him back, he would have taken care of that pup. How do you feel about that?
He was full of crap since day one. I got Cody. I love him. He's in good hands now. He's doing well. He's famous in my neighborhood. I wish everybody the best of luck. Thank you, People's Court, for having me.
All right. Well, you seem very happy. And the dog is doing good, right? Very happy.
Cody is thriving really well.
Okay. All right. That'll wrap it up for this dog case. Let's see what the judges feel now. Here's another session of After the Verdict.
It sounds like the big winner in this case is Cody.
Yep.
Because he's obviously beloved by the plaintiff, and she wouldn't let him go for anything.
No.
And it's interesting that the state law here in Pennsylvania, and a lot of states have similar laws, would give you, if you buy a dog from someone, that chance to, if you had to return the dog because it was sick or it had some serious defect like that, you get up to the purchase price and no more, right?
Right.
Right.
I mean, I've never had a case where anybody said, I just want to return the dog.
Right.
They always want to keep the dog.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Well, our dogs, they love us unconditionally. They're completely loyal. They're the greatest companions.
Yeah.
There's nothing like the human-canine bond. It's just, it's intense. And these people will pay any price and do anything to make their dog feel better, to make their, alleviate their dog's suffering. We've seen it. You've seen
I was a little surprised that she didn't contact him, particularly since they knew each other for so many years.
Right.
But she just, I don't know, she went her own way on it. But I'm glad the dog is fine. And it was a little bit slick of him to send that text saying, anything happens, you're responsible, because you can't really amend the law and people's rights that way.
Okay, Jessica wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, if I set up a fundraiser and somebody makes a slanderous comment about me, which is unfounded, causing very few people to donate, can I sue for slander or punitive damages? Well, punitive damages is not a theory. That's just an element of damages. So let me tell you how this works. If you are not a public person, Jessica, and somebody makes a false statement about you that causes you scorn or ridicule, and you lose money as a result, yes, you can sue for defamation. That would be slander in this case, a spoken word. If it's written, it's libel. Now, it depends on what they said, and it's got to subject you to scorn and ridicule. It can't just be a janky comment. It's got to be something really serious. But yes, if they did, you can sue. We'll see you next time.